the Barry way. Barry had been to the works to be mended. Some troublesome trucks tricked him, and the two MT engines tender fell into the turntable well. Now Barry was as good as new, but he was still worried about trucks. "I'd rather not use those bad boys," he puffed to himself. Until some day later, Barry wasn't pulling any trucks for long. The Fat Controller had called him down to the main line outside Knapford Sheds for an important job. Barry was very excited. He went down the hill, through Shen Valley, and went through the station outside Knapford Sheds. The Fat Controller was there waiting with Duck pulling a flatbed truck with Harold on top of it. The Fat Controller greeted Barry warmly. "What? Right on time," he said. Then he spoke to Harold. "Harold, since you're in need of repairs at the Sodor Search and Rescue Centre, Barry will be Duck's back engine," he said. "And Duck," said the Fat Controller, "you must teach Barry about railway operations." "Very well, sir," said Duck, but he wasn't sure. At last, Barry buffered up to the back of Harold's flatbed truck. The Fat Controller then spoke to his engines. "Now," he said, "you two better get. Now that you two have brought Harold here, you must bring him to the Sodor Search and Rescue Centre quickly as possible." "Yes, sir," said Duck, and we will work together by doing things the Great Western way, and we'll not let you down." "That's good," said the Fat Controller. With that, both Duck and Barry puffed away, taking Harold to the Sodor Search and Rescue Centre. Later, both Duck and Barry were on their way to the Sodor Search and Rescue Centre so that Harold's engineer will meet the three there and repair Harold. Barry wanted to show Harold around the beautiful sights of Sodor. I hope you would like Harwick," said Barry, "and the Scottish Castle, and also the Blue Mountain Quarry." But Duck wouldn't let Barry. "I'm sorry, Barry," said Duck, "but there are only two ways of doing things. The Great Western way or the wrong way. The Great Western way is that we have to get Harold to the Search and Rescue Centre as soon as possible and quicker, without any dilly-dallying." But Barry was disappointed. "But I want to show him around," he begged. "No, Barry," said Duck. But Barry was not enjoying this. Soon, the two engines, with Harold on board the flatbed truck, approached Wellsworth Station. The engineer was there waiting. When he saw Hank approaching, Hank came over to Wellsworth Station and saw Duck. When he did, the two engines applied their brakes before there'll be another crash. Just then, the Fat Controller, who had been on Hank saw everything. "Barry, Duck," he said, "what are you two doing here?" We're sorry, sir," said Barry. "I was going to show Harold around the sights of Sodor, but he was wasting his time, sir," said Duck. He He was trying to make me go the wrong way by dilly-dallying. The Fat Controller was in no mood to argue. Hank is picking up the engineer right now. You two are meant to be taking Harold to the Sodor Search and Rescue Centre right now. Yes, sir, the two engines said sadly. Moments after, both Duck and Barry were on their way. Later, Barry and Duck went over a siding at Alsborough Harbour. Barry even showed Harold Alsborough Harbour. Harold was enjoying this. This is nice, Barry, he said, but I'm worried about my engineer. He's supposed to be repairing me at the Sodor Search and Rescue Centre. There's still time, said Barry. I'm sure there's not enough time, I'm afraid, Harold, said Duck, who believed it was a waste of time for him. Then Duck backed out of the siding, pushing Barry and Harold's flatbed truck with him. Barry, he said, there are two ways of doing things, the Great Western Way or the wrong way. And the Great Western Way is that we get Harold to the Sodor Search and Rescue Centre as soon as possible without dilly-dallying. And he puffed off at once, leaving Barry feeling very cross. On the way to the Sodor Search and Rescue Centre, both Barry and Duck began to argue and bicker. This began to make Harold feel very cross and lose his patience. I can't, said Duck, and that's final. There are only two ways of doing things, the Great Western Way or the... Duck, stop! Oh no, said Duck. I'm not going to fall for another one of your tricks this time, Barry. But it wasn't another trick. But Duck and Barry went through the tunnel and one of Harold's wings went sliding through the tunnel and bent. Duck had stopped outside the tunnel with his front showing outside. My wings, moaned Harold. But then there was trouble. Stafford, the electric shunting engine, came from behind, and out popped out of him was the Fat Controller, who was feeling very cross with the two engines. Barry and Duck, you have both caused confusion and delay, twice in one day. Now Harold needs even more repairs. Yes, sir. Sorry, sir, the two engines both said sadly. I hope you two have learnt your lessons this time from now on. But then Duck had an idea. Sir, he said, why don't I be the back engine and Barry can be the front engine? What are you talking about? We can take off Harold's wings, sir, said Duck. The engineer might have new ones, or the Sodor Search and Rescue Centre might have spare wings for Harold when we meet the engineer at the Sodor Search and Rescue Centre. Think about it. The Fat Controller thought this was a great idea. Very well, but you two have to push and pull hard as soon as possible and be quick now, we're getting late. Harold's bent wings were unscrewed, and it also took a long time for him to be removed out of the tunnel. At last, Harold was free, looking like a different wingless helicopter. Until at last, both Barry and Duck were able to go as fast as they can without any dilly-dallying. This bridge is wonderful, thought Harold. No wonder I miss flying in the sky, he thought. Harold even enjoyed the Sodor suspension bridge, and so Duck and Barry were impressed, and they knew that this would be the last place they would show Harold around. Until after this, both Barry and Duck finally arrived at the Sodor Search and Rescue Centre at the same time. The engineer was there waiting. Harold was very happy that his engineer was there for him just in time. "Thank you, Barry and Duck," he said. "You two are a good team. Perhaps we can do this someday when I'm not flying." Both Duck and Barry were impressed with Harold's compliment. Evening time finally arrived. Duck was at the station outside Knapford Sheds waiting for his return journey when Barry backed over to apologise. Duck just chuckled. Then an idea flew into his funnel. Between you and me," he said, "I think there's only 3 ways of doing things. The Great Western Way, the Wrong Way, and the Barry Way." Both Duck and Barry chuckled as the two friends both laughed together, wondering what a most fabulous day they already had.